Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and today we're going to be talking all about Mario Kart Tour. Yes, this strange new thing that Nintendo has officially announced that is coming out before March 2019. Now, I do want to start this video by saying that this is all purely speculation as to what Mario Kart Tour could actually be. We don't have any insider information or anything like that, which is a real shame because we could really do with some. But anyway, enough waffling, let's dive right into things. Okay, now first of all, I just want to read you out the tweet that Nintendo tweeted announcing Mario Kart Tour as being a thing, because there's an important detail in there that I think either people have been trying to ignore or just haven't noticed. And when I say people, I mean generally media outlets. The checkered flag has been raised and the finish line is near. A new mobile application is now in development. Mario Kart Tour. And then it says the release date, but there's no point reading that out because I've already mentioned it. And I've spent longer now saying that than actually just reading it. The key thing here is the fact that it says a new mobile application. They do not explicitly say that this is going to be a game. I do think it's most likely to be a game, to be honest, because, you know, Mario Kart, Nintendo, you know, they've only released one application apart from, well, at least one branded application beyond the Switch Online app, and that being Miitomo, that wasn't actually a game, and Miitomo was a weird thing. So even though it's not actually been confirmed that it is definitely a game, it is, of course, most likely to be a game because they're Nintendo, a games company. But let's indulge the idea that it's not a game just for a moment, just to see what else maybe it could be, and it could not be a game. It's unlikely, but it could not be. So if we're not looking at a game, what kind of thing are we looking at here? I mean, what can there be done with Mario Kart that isn't playing Mario Kart? I mean, we had Mario Kart TV, which was like an online application where you could watch your videos that you recorded on your Wii U back in the original Mario Kart 8 days, and that was also passed over onto the Wii U, of course, and that was Mario Kart TV, and it was fine. You could upload to YouTube, which was cool, but it was fine. It wasn't anything that exciting. I really think this is going to be more than that, though. Far more. Otherwise, it wouldn't need to be its own application. And, well, I mean, it could be, but they could just sort of chuck something out in a couple of months. Or even better, with the release of the game, which they didn't do. So clearly this is going to be something a little bit more substantial. But if it's not a game, I do think it will probably interact with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in some manner, or a future Mario Kart game, which is also not entirely out of the question, although again, unlikely. It could honestly be something as simple as the Splatnet app that we've got on the Nintendo Switch Online app thing for Splatoon 2, you know, just something to track your stats, and maybe you could interact with other people who have it, you know, sort of, hey, I play Mario Kart, do you want to exchange stats? I don't know. I should have put more thought into that. I suppose it could be an interesting method to see if there's anyone nearby around you, if you're at a convention or something like that, to see if there's anyone around you who has Mario Kart and is willing to play Mario Kart. It's a bit like Tinder, but for Mario Kart. Alright, we've indulged the idea that it's not going to be a game for a little bit, but let's be honest, we're all here. We want to know what kind of game, what kind of Mario Kart game could run on a smartphone. And, I mean, there are karting games out there on smart devices. I've played a couple of them, although it was a long time ago, so, you know, the technology has probably come on a long way. I remember playing a Sonic and All-Stars Racing. I don't think it was the transformed one. I don't think that came to smartphones. And it was fine. I mean, you could hold your phone and, you know, you had auto-accelerate, I think, but I think you could choose to have a virtual button and you tilted it left and right if you wanted to steer, or you had a virtual a joystick. It was fine. I mean, it wasn't anywhere near, you know, playing an actual karting game on an actual system, but it was fine. I think that's probably the most obvious thing they could do, and as such, I don't think Nintendo's going to do it because they're Nintendo and they always like to do things differently and sometimes better. And I do think that there are potentially other better ways to have racing games on a smart device as opposed to having to use a Switch or similar console. First of all, I think we've had our fun with the whole sort of steering like that. I just don't think it works. Just as an idea, it just doesn't work properly. I mean, it was okay on the Wii and it's okay for a bit of fun, but if this is going to be a Mario Kart game, unless it's going to be some kind of spin-off, which we'll get onto later, then it's going to have to have something more precise. And to be honest, As boring and as obvious as it sounds, I don't think a virtual joystick is the way to go, but simply just you tap and you go left and right, and every time you release and just tap again, it moves where the starting point is. So you don't, you know, sort of tap there and you'll move right, tap there and you'll move left, but instead you tap on there. But who knows, maybe it's not going to be a proper Mario Kart game, and instead something else, something different, something a little bit maybe more suited to a smart device, rather than just trying to get Mario Kart 8 or a watered-down version running on a smartphone, which, to be honest, I think is far more likely. The fact that it's called Mario Kart Tour, I think, is maybe indicative of what the actual game will be like. I just called it a game. What the actual application will be like, let's just assume it's a game. So I imagine it's entirely possible that it's going to have something to do with traveling in the real world. I don't want to say for a moment that you're going to, like, hook it up to your car or, you know, keep it hooked up as a sat-nav or something like that, and it encourages you to drive around and throw bananas at people. That is a terrible idea. But I think it being sensitive to the location that you're in is entirely possible. Again, this is all conjecture. We don't know for sure. We don't even know slightly. If it does go down this avenue, I don't think it's going to be like Pokemon Go and sort of encouraging you to go out and actually encouraging you to do exercise, because it's a karting game, so why would you use your feet? There's a sort of a disconnect there, but maybe just, you know, sort of purely because of where you are, that affects the game in some way. Maybe what tracks are available, maybe tracks are generated, and depending on your location, merely just working it out from rough coordinates or something, that's used as a seed to generate a Mario Kart course for you to drive around. And you can, you know, sort of get into groups with other people and say, hey, there's a great course over here by Madame Two Swords. Let's race against the waxworks. And maybe it won't even be a standard third-person perspective Mario Kart game, but rather something like a top-down racer, like kind of like a, what do you call it, a stock car racing? We call it Scale X-Trick. That's a brand, but we don't know anything else. Rail racing? So rather than a traditional Mario Kart game being shoehorned onto a smart device, we're going to get something that is tailored for an actual smart device. We only have to look at things like Fire Emblem Heroes and Animal Crossing Pocket Camp? Yes. These are both games that have been heavily inspired from the series that they are part of, which is unsurprising really, but they've been tailored for a specific smartphone experience. And they're designed to be played in short bursts because nobody, or at least nobody that I know of, sits down to play on their phone for hours and hours and hours. They just don't do it. So it needs to be a pick up and play, quick, you know, play 5 or 10 minutes on this, get something done, and feel like you've achieved something and you've actually played a game, and then, you know, move on rather than waiting for a save point or waiting for this or waiting for that. So it needs to be something that just pip-pap-pow can be done in nice quick bursts. Also, I've got a horrible feeling it's going to be free-to-play. Free-to-play? Free-to-start? What do they call it these days? Unfortunately, the model of free-to-play and using microtransactions is a system that works very, very well on mobile. Not from a consumer's point of view, but from a business point of view. I mean, Super Mario Run sold... well, it cost, what, is it £10, $10 when it first came out? And I think it's had a price drop. And they still made less money on that than they did on Fire Emblem Heroes. Fire Emblem being a big franchise in Japan, but over in the West, it's kind of middling. It's sort of a middle ground franchise. Mario, being the biggest thing since sliced bread, still didn't manage to make as much money as Fire Emblem Heroes, and Fire Emblem Heroes was originally free to download. It's bonkers. Free to play has the advantage of not having to actually pay anything in order to play the game, and if you're patient, you never have to pay anything. You're never forced to, especially in Nintendo's games. They've been very, very good at the way that... Well, that was good. The camera just ran out of battery and I managed to knock it over as well. Hopefully, I'm roughly where I was. Nintendo has thus far been very good with the way they've handled microtransactions in Fire Emblem Heroes and Pocket Camp, in the sense that you don't actually need to ever spend any real money in order to be able to progress through the game properly. You know, you don't hit a paywall. You can get as far as anyone else. It will just probably take you more time. So hopefully it's going to be the same with Mario Kart Tour, whatever it ends up being, unless of course it is just an application and not a game, in which case microtransactions probably aren't going to be a thing. But it's probably going to be a game. Whatever it ends up being, I'm sure we'll find out soon enough, probably at E3 or maybe in a Direct or something. It's coming out before the end of April, sorry, next year. So, I mean, it could come out tomorrow, but it won't, will it? But anyway, what do you think it's going to be, or what do you want it to be? Maybe go with want, because that's a bit more interesting. Let us know down there in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you go on tour with that subscribe button, and be sure to check out NintendoLife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.